good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the February 25th, 2025 Community Services Committee meeting to order. Niagara Region and Grimsby are situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara and the Town of Grimsby stands with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest? Okay. Seeing none, can I have a mover and a seconder to approve the agenda? Okay, moved by Member Brabant and seconded by Councillor Korstanji. Are there any questions from the committee? No. Resolved that the agenda for the February 25th, 2025 Community Services Committee meeting be approved. All in favor? And that's carried. Can I have a mover and a seconder to receive the previous meeting minutes? Moved by Councillor DeFlavio, seconded by Councillor Korstanji. Are there any questions from the committee? Resolved that the following meeting minutes be received. Community Services Committee, February 4th, 2025. Age-Friendly Advisory Committee, February 18th, 2025. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. We do not have any delegations. Moving on to item number 9, discussion reports. The first discussion report is the Grimsby Public Art Gallery information report dated February 2025. Can I have a mover and a seconder to get it on the floor for discussion? Okay, and moved by Member Laird, seconded by Councillor Howe. And Alexandra, if you could please lead us through that.
Okay. In 2024, the Art Gallery welcomed 10,554 visitors, representing a 5% increase compared to the previous year. Looking ahead, the gallery aims to sustain this steady growth with a projected 5% increase in visitor numbers for 2025. The gallery has seen steady growth in its programming over the past several years, with 2024 marking the highest earned revenue in the history. Over the past year, more than 80 creative programs were offered, engaging over 4,000 participants of all ages through registered programs, drop-in activities, and community events throughout Grimsby. 2025 marks the Art Gallery's 50th anniversary. To mark this milestone, a series of special programs and events are planned throughout the year, including a permanent collection exhibition, an Art Gallery birthday celebration to engage the community, painting and restoration of the Cosswell Lule sculpture outside, a public art mural project to enhance the town's cultural landscape, an anniversary speaker series featuring notable voices in the arts, special studio programs designed for children and youth, a publication project, and a commemorative merchandise in the gallery shop. These initiatives will honor the gallery's rich history while fostering community engagement and artistic appreciation for years to come. GPEG first opened its doors on April 20th, 1975 in the basement of the library, which was attached to the historic Carnegie Building. Since then, the gallery has amassed over 2,500 works of both contemporary and historic Canadian pieces with special focuses on printmaking, works on paper, book arts and fine craft, and art that addresses human interactions with the environment. From its inception, the gallery has been a true community effort, involving donated materials, time, and financial support from the Grimsby community. To honor this rich history, the gallery launched 2025 with its anniversary exhibition titled Collective Memory, on display until April 5th. This exhibition surveys the remarkable journey of building the gallery's permanent collection, a testament to the vision and dedication of artists, directors, curators, donors, and volunteers who have all had a hand in shaping its legacy. From foundational acquisitions to recent treasures, the exhibition reflects on the shared efforts and enduring passion of building and preserving a renowned collection for the community it serves. In celebration of the 50th anniversary, this exhibition brings together key pieces from the permanent collection and features 80 works by over 70 artists. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. Do we have any questions from the committee? Okay, no. Well, thank you very much for coming. Appreciate that. Resolve that report DCS 2508, Grimsby Public Art Gallery Information Report, February 2025, dated February 25th, 2025, be received for information. All in favor? Okay, and that is carried. The second discussion report is the Peach King Center advertising rates 2025 report. Can I get a mover and a seconder to get it on the floor for discussion? Okay, moved by Member Breather, seconded by Member Brabant. And Sarah, if you could bring us through the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So as we've indicated in the report, we are looking to have some additional rates and fees approved as part of our 2025 programming rates and fees. We are looking to bring our advertising program in-house. It has been done in the past by a third party. And a couple of reasons for doing this, as we reflected in the report. One is to make sure we can line it all up with some other sponsorship and advertising agreements that we have. We also think it's an opportunity for us to collect a little bit of additional revenue and also make sure we have some consistency in terms of how things are being installed and managed within our building. So we think it's an opportunity that will work out quite well for us, and we're also going to look at future expansion of other facilities as well in terms of how it plays out. The rates that we've established for this are based upon a blend of looking at some of the other facilities that do the same thing, other municipalities, I should say, and also looking at the current rates that we have had. The one difficulty with that is we've had a number of disruptions over years between early closures or closure periods because of construction and then also COVID as well. So we've kind of taken look at all of those different numbers and come up with a blend that we think we definitely can achieve with this program. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Member Brabant.
Through you, Chair, do we know what the revenue this is, what this brings in every year for the town? What the total revenue is approximately? And if that is year over year, what the increase would be approximately?
Thank you. So currently we are bringing in, it depends a little bit on what is sold, I would say between $16,000 to $20,000, but we do think we can increase that quite a bit. Some of that, the timing of it a little bit as to when that starts will impact us also when that building opens. So 2025 won't see obviously all of that because we will be closed for a time period, but hopefully 2026 we finally see that full year. I do think we'll see quite a good growth in that number. We do also just have to look at, obviously the first year as well, just there might be some transition time with some of those, actual sales and such, but I do think we're expecting a good 20-30%, but also looking at expanding the program. So currently it's mostly focused on the arenas, arena boards, some signage within the arenas, but we are also looking at where there can be some signage appropriately so we don't overdo it in spaces like the gymnasium and other areas within the facility. So we are still mapping that out, to be totally honest. I don't have an exact number to give you because we do think the quantity will also go up.
Does any of the other committee members have any questions before I go? No. Okay, so a few questions, Sarah. Previous rates. So when I had a business in the town of Grimsby, I think I inquired about costs, and it seems around this price. So was there actually, is it a very minor increase? Because I feel like it's basically the same price, and this was quite a while ago.
Through the chair, so the way that it was set up, the price point wasn't entirely decided by us. So it could be, and some of the rates may have varied and differed at various times as well, depending upon demand. So it could be, I'm not sure what that rate was given. We are, because we have, again, come off a few years of not having a good solid year, we want to make sure we fill the spots and then look at increasing them as well. So it could be that is the case, and certainly if we see the demand we have, we would be looking at kind of, regularly every 2 years, increasing that incrementally as well.
And now, when you've come up with these prices, what were you looking at? Are we looking at the costs for St. Catharines again, or what were the other municipalities, or how did you come to these numbers?
Through the chair, I would have to double check which comparators they were used. I know they looked at, I think, Pelham and a few others as well. I'd have to double check which one she actually looked at, to be honest.
Okay, so just a few comments. Moving forward, I think one of the things that we need to really start to capture is these increases, sponsorship opportunities, just because we have the residents paying, and now we need to start getting the businesses more in line with the increases that we're experiencing as a municipality. And if we are constantly using Niagara, other municipalities in Niagara, to come up with our costs. I think they're far behind what other municipalities such as Hamilton and Halton Way, what they're capturing. And we need to get more in line with that. So if we're still sticking with Niagara, we're going to fall behind. So at some point, we need to start moving over to comparing more so with those municipalities. Just because year after year, I think we need to start capturing some of that because there's just too much waste. I was looking up the city of Whitby, which has about 144,000. I thought that would be a really good thing if you could bring it to staff's attention to maybe look through, because they have a sponsorship package. And some of the sponsorship opportunities that they've also identified, there's, I'll just give a few examples. Movies in the Park, they charge $3,000 for a movie. Obviously, there's, more people in their community, but there's quite a lot of sponsorship. And in Grimsby, we have that sign out at Coronation Park. So it's a really good opportunity for businesses, and they should have to pay a little bit more for that opportunity. So there's Movies in the Park, public skating sponsorships. For Whitby, it's $1,500 per skate. I know right now, I think for us, it's $200. It's basically just to rent the ice, which we give mailers, we give everything. So we need to start upping that as well, in my opinion. They have waste container logos, so all of their garbage that you see in parks, like on the newer garbage, that's another thing that they've honed in on. Electric vehicle charging stations. For a lead sponsor for that, $10,000. Obviously, it's different for us, but still, it's another opportunity there. So those are just a few things. I think if we could have somebody look at that and see if we can capture any of those sponsorship opportunities, I think that would be great. So.
Through the chair, yeah, happy to take those away and look at those, and there's others as well. We do want to keep ramping this up and keep growing it. I do think for the first year, we want to just make sure this transition occurs smoothly, and then looking at how we grow it. And I think there's other examples as well that we've looked at as well to try and really increase that opportunity. It's also because it is a great opportunity as well for local businesses to advertise. So I think there is a real win-win there.
Absolutely. And the nice thing about with Whitby as an example is that it's all there on their website. So if you look on sponsorship opportunities, there's a package so that it cuts down on staff time trying to discuss the nitty gritty with the business as well. So yeah. Councillor DeFlavio.
Thank you, Chair. Through you. The only thing I was going to add to it, and thank you for the report, Sarah, is the part of the cost that's mentioned is the expensive printing, installation, and maintenance. So I think that there should be, I don't know if this is something that we consider, but a returning advertiser would cost less for the town. We wouldn't have to create the board, we wouldn't have to install it, and all those things that go with it. So perhaps there should be a premium rate for new advertisers, and then reduced for the following year and maintained from that point on to reflect, to reward people who come back, and also to reflect the less cost when people are returning, because we're not putting up a new sign every year when somebody comes. I also think the West Pad is not enough of a difference between the West and the East, because the West Pad has the Peach Kings games. It has it's used for large events a lot more, so it should probably reflect that in the cost. So it's something to take back. This one's great for now. Like you said, it's a starting point, but it should really, I would say that the West Pad, because of the length of the season and because it's there longer, it's there earlier, and it stays later because the ice goes out earlier in the East Pad, and because of the quantity of the number of people that go through the door there should be significantly higher than the East Pad. So I think in the end it should reflect that, but that's something I'm sure you're going to look at and tweak as you go along. Those are just my thoughts. Thanks.
Sarah?
Through the chair, great points. So one of the pieces of work we are also going to do is really getting some better data and metrics as to what the actual attendance is in these places as well, to really drive that conversation as well. And I think once we've built a full year again, once we're operating, we can really use that as well. So great point, and I do agree with you on that, to show those differences and also be able to share with our sponsors and our advertisers and in all of our different events what the value is and what the impression is that they're receiving. So I think that'll be helpful for us. In terms of returning sponsors or advertisers, you're right. So if they kept the same banner and didn't want to change the content of it, then that might be something we look at. We are also going to make sure if they want to change their content or banner, which sometimes happens as well, then there will be a fee for that.
Are there any other questions? No. Resolve that report DCS 2509, Peach King Center advertising rates 2025, dated February 25, 2025, be received for information. And one, that the committee recommend that council approve the advertising fees as listed in this report. All in favor? Okay, and that is carried. And the third discussion report is the Community Services Department Information Update, February 25th, 2025 report. Can I get a mover and a seconder to get it on the floor for discussion? Moved by Member Brabant, seconded by Member Laird. And Sarah, if you could please lead us through that.
Thank you, Chair. So a couple of quick updates for you. We are working through an LED lighting retrofit program in several of our buildings, the Library Art Gallery, the museum, and Town Hall buildings. So that will be completed this year, which will see some energy savings and efficiencies. An update on the 40 Mile Creek Bridge. There's some images attached in the report just showing that the bridge has been fully removed. The construction company is working away quite diligently to get that project to continue forward with it, and are on track to have that completed late spring. So we're excited to see that work occurring. Elizabeth Street Pump House, we've done some work to upgrade that kitchen. It was a little bit dated and has been fully redone so that it's a little bit of a nicer space for our renters. And we are also looking at doing some exterior painting as well, just to give that building a bit of a refresh. It is due for that. We did a fall program feedback survey that we were really pleased with the results for and did want to share that information with you. So the actual full survey report was attached as Appendix A. Hopefully you had a quick chance to take a look at it. But some really great feedback for us from seeing all the different postal codes, seeing that we're really covering right across the community in terms of people utilizing our program. A strong Grimsby resident response, which is 85%, but we do have 15% saying they are non-residents. And just really great feedback overall, high satisfaction rate. And we don't share individual comments because there's a lot of names in there. It's really wonderful to see some of the feedback we get about our instructors, whether it's our fitness instructors or gymnastics, right across the board, just some really great feedback. But the one thing that really stuck out to me when I read them, because I read every single comment, is there's a lot of more in there, a lot of more programs, more times, more capacity, more space. And that was exciting for us to see, because as we're preparing for our eventual opening of the Peach King Center, we'll have finally the space to offer more. So I think that was really great for us to see, knowing that we're going to be able to satisfy that need. And I think that's it.
Are there any questions from the committee? Councillor Corstangi?
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, through Chair. Happy to see the 40 Creek Bridge. Just a few comments. I know for the leisure guide, and I know we talk about this a lot. So programs for residents with children with disabilities and adults with disabilities. I know that there are some swim sessions and stuff planned. I would like to see something in the leisure guide, because I have never been able to open that and go, here's a program for my child. And I think that we need to bring that to the parents of our residents. So I know that we're just starting, we've done some pilot projects and we're working on things, and it's a process. But if we are going to have some swim dates, I would just like to see that included so that they can look in there and know that we're providing something for them as well. And then, we just build on that. But if that's possible, I would love to see that.
Okay, so I'm going to say the more for you, Sarah, of course. More, what I would like to see, based on, your feedback here, it identified that physical health and well-being was the reason most of our participants registered for these programs. But one thing that I think that I would like to see, if possible, or at least see if we could explore the option, is programming for men. Men over 40, I feel like just with stress in society, there's a gap there. I think we need to start really looking at programming to increase well-being for our men. So 40 plus, and I don't know what they would do, but just to get men out, to get them socially interacting with others. But if we could explore that, I think that's something that our community could really use. So, and, maybe this is something that we ask for feedback from the community. I'd be happy to share it. And hopefully if anybody has ideas, then that would be great. So, any others? Councillor DeFlavio, do you have anything to add or no?
I said I'll be happy to volunteer to run pickup basketball late in the evening. Obviously, the prime time will be used by kids at the when the gym is completed. But it's been something that I before my shoulder surgery, we used to go to Winona, the little gym there at the old Winona Public School, because they had drop-in times. Organized basketball, volleyball is something that all adults participate. So you could have co-ed, you could have men's basketball, you could have women's basketball. But yeah, it exists just down the road, 10 minutes down the road at Winona Public School. It's on Tuesdays and Thursday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. So late in the evening, kind of like, hockey happens late in the evening for men and for women who are playing, adults that are playing, because the prime time gets taken by kids. But I think it's something that once we get the gyms, we're going to be able to offer more of that, even if it's indoor pickleball, which but I think that a lot of the daytime will be taken up by pickleball, for example. And those are all things that men and women, the men only one is one that is kind of a dated idea, but I get what you're saying, especially when it comes to, because it's also intimidating for women sometimes to want to play with men. So offering women only basketball and women only soccer and women only, you want to be as inclusive as possible. And so whatever we can do to make Grimsby inclusive and make it so people want to participate and be active is great. So you could do low impact basketball, you could do shoot arounds, you could do anything like that. We just need to have the space, and once we get it, we have to figure out what the costs are and all the things that go with that. But I'm happy to be part of that because I'm excited about the facility when it's open. So
Yes, Sarah.
Through the chair, thanks for the opportunity to comment. One of the things we are going to do as well, as we build the new Peachtree Center, establish that schedule, is look at the demographics of what the programs are serving, whether that's ones we directly offer or the ones that we support through rentals, to look at what that is and where we can support that. And that could include adults, mid-age, it could include inclusive programs, all those different things. So we're looking at it fully and seeing where our gaps. Youth sometimes is also one that comes up, and how can we service that? Because I do think some of our organized sports can service that age group well, but I think the challenge is if you're not already part of those groups, you're not already part of the league, or you don't have those experiences, it can be hard to access them. So pick up programs like you're speaking to, Councillor DeFlavio, and looking at other programs that are easy to just kind of walk into, and you don't have to, have a background in it and have done it for 10 years is definitely something we want to look at.
Yes, and Councillor, I'm just going to comment first. I agree. I think and we don't want to make it something that's intimidating, so something that anybody can kind of jump into. With the programs that we have, I think one of the main ones was, women that fitness programs, right? So, and I know I used to teach those classes or do personal training, so that's a big demographic. But that's why I'm saying, 40s men is where I think we need more programming. So, non-intimidating. So if you weren't a soccer or a basketball player, you can do that. So yes, Councillor DeFlavio.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. What we want to do is, like Sarah said, is look at the demographics across the board, because I can tell you, as a parent of kids from 16 to 22 years old, that age group, once kids stop playing competitive sports, there's not a lot for them to do either. So during COVID, I was running outdoor runs at the park, and I'd get 20 guys showing up at an outdoor park to just play basketball. They would just contact one another. Then once we were able to go indoors, I was running them at Nellis, and people would just show up, and I was running them for free just to keep people active. But you could run them as a town, $5 a pop or whatever on a drop-in. It's not a lot. You want to make it something so people have some, something invested in it, but at the same time, or have passes for $30 or whatever you want to, however staff determines what the cost of that actually is. But that demographic also of men and women, young men and women who stop playing competitive sports but aren't adults yet, is one that is also, there's not a lot for kids of that age who are active in Grimsby to do. There's not a movie theater, there's not other bowling alleys, there's not things like that. So anything that we can offer that's like that offers a place for people to go and hang out and do something constructive is always good. It was the same reason why we invested money in the skate park decades ago when Councillor Howe was a councillor. And it's the reason why we do all these things all the time, why we have the fort underneath the Carnegie Building. We want places for people to go. And there's not, unfortunately, not a lot of privately owned places for people to go in Grimsby. So as a municipality, we need to find places, offer places, and that's part of what we do in community services. So yeah, this is all stuff that I mean, we can hash it all out, but I think the first step is is the fact that we're building the facility and we're going to have a place where we can offer those things, and going from there, it's going to be awesome to see. My kids are going to be too old for it, but I can't wait to see other people's kids and my grandkids using it decades from now. Sorry about the rant.
My kids will be using it, so thank you. Okay. Resolve the report DCS 2510, Community Services Department Information Update, February 2025, dated February 25th, 2025, be received for information. All in favor? Okay, and that's carried. The final discussion report is the Mayfair Pickleball Courts Schedule and Fees 2025 report. Can I get a mover and a seconder to get it on the floor for discussion? Moved by Councillor Cristangi, seconded by Councillor DeFlavio. And Sarah, if you could please explain the report.
Thank you, Chair. So hopefully this is our final report for this season for pickleball coming to this committee. That is the hope. So we've spent quite a considerable amount of time talking about pickleball, certainly around this table, but also around some of our meeting tables as well, working with the Grimsby Pickleball Association, who have been really great about working with us to come up with a schedule that addresses some of the concerns that were expressed, and seeing how we can do this a little differently as we continue to grow in the sport, and I think still uncover and discover exactly what's going to be the best fit as we move forward. So we have come up with a schedule. It is attached for you as Appendix A. It is based upon a variety of things that I've outlined in the report. I can cover a few of them quickly, but I guess just to summarize it, we really tried to look at a balancing of time. We did identify some of the prime time windows. That's largely come from some of the survey results that we received, but also consistent with what I think GPA would say as well overall. So we've really tried to look at a balancing of that time that allows the league to continue and have a program that they can offer to the community that has had an extremely successful uptake, which is good news, but also offer that reserve a court flexible time that we just heard so strongly from the community through that survey and through previous conversations that we've had. We have established as well a different rate structure, looking at trying to keep the cost of pickleball fairly minimal. I mean, thankfully for us operationally year to year, it's not a huge cost that we, for maintaining it. It's not like some of our sports fields where you're cutting the grass and lining fields, for example, all the time. So coming up with a fee that we think is reasonable for that sport, but also does ensure that we can support some of our upkeep and also some of our administrative costs related to it. There is a big difference between the two numbers, and it's largely because there's a big difference in effort, and that's simply kind of what it comes down to. Is working with the Pickleball League, it's sort of a one fee once and done. It's done at one time, one transaction, whereas every reservable court is literally its own permit every single time, and there's really no way to get around that without having it actually permitted and booked. So I think we're pleased with where we've gotten to. I do think that this will be something year on year. We'll see some different iterations of how it goes forward. But we are hopeful that this gives us a good plan for this year so we can move forward, because I know GPA is eager to get their season posted, as are we eager to post what the dates and times will be, because the season isn't that far away. It's already the end of February. And certainly we can come back at the end of season just sharing some of the outcomes and feedback that we've obtained by doing it this way, because we'll have some better data as well. I think it's interesting too, we were just talking about the 40-year-old, that age group as well, and having a program, I think, that people can go and participate in. And actually, this is a perfect example of a good sport for that. And I think that learn to play type of model is something we really have to look at for our sports as well. And I am happy to say we've chatted with GPA as well, looking at that possibility as well, working with them to offer some more learn to play opportunities for pickleball, just as one example of many sports as well. So happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the committee? Councillor Flavia?
Thank you, Chair, through you. Just the cost is very reasonable, I would say. I don't know how $2 per hour can actually reflect the cost of building, maintaining, in the future, resurfacing, having staff, all the things that go with the creation and maintenance of the court in the way that it is. I'm concerned that it's not enough. The $4 per hour definitely doesn't seem like enough because of the work that goes into it, and even the infrastructure involved and staffing involved in having to book rentals. But $2 per hour certainly does not seem to reflect what, and I know that it's a block. I mean, I guess if you were to give us, for context, how much that adds up to for the season, because if the season starts in May and it's 40 hours a week times $2, that's $80 a week times, let's say 10, 20 weeks. So that's $16,000. Does that sound right? Is that for? So I'm just it would be good to know as a whole how much, because the number seems to be arbitrary, frankly, rather than reflecting the actual costs. I would like to know what it actually costs to maintain and build that court. And again, I'm fine with providing a public court, but if it's being used by an organization, similar to the Peach King Center, similar to any other soccer fields, anything else that we rent, it should reflect the actual cost of that facility. And I don't think that there's any way that $2 reflects the cost of any facility. It's not even, $2 an hour does not in any way even reflect the staff time involved, never mind the facility itself. So I'm fine with it for this year, but I really think that a future report needs to consider all of the costs associated with that court, including construction, maintenance, cleaning, staffing, all of the things, like lighting, everything that's involved, the same way that we do for the Peach King Center when we figure out the hourly costs. It's a detailed report. And I've looked at many of those over the years where we talk about all of the costs. There's a cost of having staff on site at all times. Obviously, this site doesn't have staff on site at all times, but we have to have somebody there to clean it occasionally. I know the Pickleball Association also cleans it, so that's going to be reflected in the cost. I just think that a future report really needs to consider all of these things, and I don't think that $2 per hour does that. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'll vote in favor of it because I want to get this done for this year and get it over with. But I would really like the future costs to reflect the genuine costs of maintenance and ongoing costs for this facility.
Sarah?
So through the chair, so absolutely fair points, and you're right, there is a bit of an arbitrary number. We're also mindful of what the fees were the previous year and how we make that adjustment, especially with a short timing. So that is also a consideration. We are doing our rates and fees study for community services, and that will help guide that. So absolutely, I hear what you're saying, and we'll be looking at that more consistently too. That builds into that rationale. So we know we have more work to do to make sure we acknowledge what the fee structures are and what we're going to collectively agree how we're going to handle that. So we can certainly bring back some more information about that, what those actual costs are, and bring back at the end of the year too, what was the success of this? Did this work out the way that we expected it to go? So there is more to come.
Councillor DeFlavio?
Thank you, Chair, through you. And that's great. I assumed that the fee report would probably take that into consideration. The goal is always to expand what we offer, right? So if we can generate enough revenue to not only keep this facility, but then look at building other ones, if there's demand, we want to provide that, right? But we can't do that if this doesn't genuinely reflect the cost of what it costs to keep this thing going. So that's part of my point. It's not that I don't want this to exist. It's that if we want it to continue and we want to build new ones and we want to expand this, which is what we're always doing, is we're building new facilities and we're building new parks and we're adding things. We need to know the genuine cost of it so that way we know if we want to add a pickleball court to Southward Park, what is that going to cost? How will we regain that revenue over the years and all of those things? So that was my point. I hope I wasn't trying to be overly critical. I just think that we really need to have that information to make wise choices in the future.
Just Councillor Kristangi, go ahead. I'll let you speak and then I'll comment after.
Thank you, through Chair. I would just like to make sure that it's very aware to the public of what times that they can use and so as long as it's available, people know how to book it, when they can book it, what it looks like and stuff like that. If we can get that out and have that either on our website and even on the social media when it opens and stuff like that, because I think that's really important so that people are aware of what times they can use it, how much it's going to cost, how it's going to work and stuff like that.
Sarah?
Through the chair, the answer is yes. We will be doing those things. We'll be making sure there's information at the courts, on our website, and in various different channels that we can make sure it's easy for people to find that information and how to book.
Okay, my turn. I wanted to commend you and your staff and Trevor for coming up with this. I know this was very difficult and there were so many different options. So I'm very pleased that we're at this point. And I like the fact that you've acknowledged that we're figuring it out. So we'll actually have data at the end of the year. So if there's anything that, because we want this to be efficient. So if there's court times that's available, then we want people to play on that. And this isn't a profit center. We just want to capture our costs, right? So hopefully by the end of this, we'll figure it out and we'll make sure that we're charging an appropriate amount. But I do like that we are charging for the public use, even though it's $2 an hour. It's still, then people aren't just booking and then not showing, because we want people to be efficient. So I know with the GPA, they book and they show up, and that's what we want. So we want the public to do the same thing and be respectful of the time that other people could have been on the court, right, if they weren't there. So again, I'm glad that we have this data we can look at and we can tweak it, and it'll be awesome for next year. So, and that's it. Thank you. Okay, any others before we move on? No. Okay. Resolve that report DCS 2511, Mayfair Pickleball Court Schedule and Fees 2025, dated February 25, 2025, be received. And one, that the committee recommend that council approve the 2025 pickleball court fees. All in favor? Okay, that is carried. We have no correspondence. Is there any other business pertaining to the committee? Councillor DeFlavio, I'm looking at you. Nothing? Okay, you covered that in our meeting. Okay. The next Community Services Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 25th at 6:30 p.m. And that is all. Thank you for coming. And the meeting is adjourned.